So, hey everybody, this is Carlos. I am the CEO at Product School. Today I'm here with Arman Eshraghi, who is the CEO at Qrvey. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Carlos. You did a fantastic job pronouncing my difficult last name.
Oh
Kudos to you.
man, I have a difficult last name. So, I was on your podcast not too long ago. So, I'm happy to have you on mine so we can geek out on product stuff, specifically embedded analytics, which I know that's the core of your current company. But before that, someone told me that you are a lover of board games. You have over 200 strategy board games. Is that true?
Yeah, I love it. And my family loves it. And, whenever we get together with friends, we would love to choose one of those and play together. It's always fun.
And you crush everybody?
Not really. I mean, it depends on the game that we have with friends, and some of them are not really strategic that far. It's just more a kind of fun game to play, and some of them are more thinking. But even also, I would love to create my own games sometimes, right? So that's really also the fun part of it is creativity of just creating a game is so fun.
um, I don't know if I want to play with you because I mean over 200 strategy games, and I wonder if there is any connection there between how you kind of play those games and then also how you do strategy at at work.
Yeah, I can tell you that, I heard a report a while ago I was listening to NPR and someone was pitching the idea that actually monopoly is something that either is being kind of, practiced or should be practiced. I don't remember the details. That was while ago, but he was pitching actually monopoly as uh, something that people should really practice in business school because it just helps you so much in negotiations. And if you are good in monopoly, then you probably will be really good in business negotiations as well. And I agree. I agree. Playing Monopoly, a lot of Monopoly games during my, younger age, I can testimony to that. It definitely helped us to, practice a little bit.
I play Monopoly with my kids. They're young, but it's funny because as an entrepreneur, sometimes I also break the rules. And literally, I start negotiating with them. I would offer them things that have nothing to do with the game, like, "Hey, I'll buy you ice cream and whatnot." Like, so anyway,
Yeah.
so I also want to talk about your business background. So it's not always the case to meet someone who started four companies, specifically in your case, B2B software companies. It seems like you've been in the data and automation space, and I'm just curious to know what is that fundamental problem that you've always been trying to solve.
Yeah, so software has been fascinating to me. And since I learned about it, in probably, I don't know how old I was, but it was in high school age. And since I learned about software and the ability to really sit down in front of your back then Commodore 64 and write some code and train this kind of device, so that's getting better and better every day. That was so fascinating to me, a kind of thing that I thought if I do once and train it and, create a program or software application and then train that application over time to get it smarter, it can help people. And the beauty of it is you press a button, you copy that back then floppy disks, and then you give it to somebody else who has the same problem, and immediately you solve the second person problem and you get better and better at it every day. And that's not a kind of business that you can expect any, what other businesses can do that, right? So that to me was fascinating. And since then, I think my passion has always been to create really better products and applications that can really solve people's problem. And then I get better and better at those kind of problem solving. And the data in particular and automation and no coding kind of problem is because you are democratizing it, making it easier. There is no way that one person can sit down and just solve everybody's problem. But if you create a platform that you can give the platform to someone and say this platform allows you to modify it and make it yours, that became my passion to build these platforms, the data platforms, no-code platforms, automation platform, analytic platforms. And then, of course, underlying technologies change. So when I started, MS-DOS was, those kind of, operating systems. And then later on, Windows came, and I started my second company on Windows. And then later on, we did over internet the first reporting dashboarding that was web-based in late 90s and starting 2000 legally the company, Logi Analytics. And then, of course, the recent company that I'm working on, Qrvey, that was essentially on AWS when cloud became the new operating system. And then, we extended that to Kubernetes and moved it to other cloud services as well. And as you can see, you are kind of, moving from MS-DOS to Windows to internet and web, and particularly to cloud. And now, to me, Kubernetes, not literally it is an operating system, but it acts like an operating system, meaning that you can really build on top of that and then running your application in different environments. That's fascinating, and you solve bigger problems, but you address the same needs, but at a much larger scale.
One fascinating thing for me about entrepreneurs is that we can see patterns and things that the way you speak about it sounds like so obvious in your mind. It is not obvious at all, but it's true when you break it down. Like there is like a platform shift, and then you read that, and then you're able to build a scalable technology on top of it that allows things to happen without just being on top of them every single time. And you kind of been repeating that successful pattern as there was a new platform shift. So maybe let's talk about current company and what do you do specifically for people who are not familiar with embedded analytics?
Sure, and embedded analytics can be extremely kind of, I would say, a widespread term that may be not very well defined or narrowly defined. So definitely it needs to be clarified. So not every embedded analytic will be the same in a way. So the way Qrvey does it, it's pretty unique. We are 100% OEM business, first of all. So in a other way, we are catering to other software and SaaS companies 100%. Everybody, every single customer of Qrvey, the SaaS company. And then they take our technology to enrich their applications, analytic, meaning reporting, dashboarding, data automation, all of those aspects, data management. And when we say it's embedded, meaning that you can replace that word with multi-tenancy, you can think about that as a kind of external use cases. And the way it works, we are mostly tailored toward use cases that are really external use cases, meaning that what you are creating for customers and users outside your company. The internal use cases on the opposite side, they are meant to be for internally for your people inside your organization. And you see plenty of, players playing in that field, including Tableau and Looker and Power BI and others.
Yeah. So an example, for example, it could be, let's say we're using this tool now to record this interview, and this tool has a set of analytics about this conversation. Your company could be powering those type of internal analytics for me, right?
Yeah, and the way I would describe it is that if you just need to get the data out and create some analytics, and if you're a software company, not a big deal. You can do it. You can just create a report, create a chart, put some numbers together. But if you have a lot of tenants, let's say you have a lot of customers, or even not a lot of customers, but some of your customers are very sophisticated and they have very sophisticated needs, and you want to give them the ability to do certain things on their own, that's the complex part. We would describe that as a self-service or no-code capabilities, meaning that not only you are offering out of your data a dashboard to them, but also you let them to really customize it, build their own dashboard,
Got it.
but also they can bring their own data, they can automate it, they can set it up and actually build their own data application on top of what you offer them.
Okay. Yeah. So it's not about just reading the dashboard. It's about giving the user the capability to augment that, edit that, and even integrate it with other sources. Now, the follow-up question here is then why, right? Like why would a company say, well, I want to just buy this embedded analytics component and put it into my product versus build it myself?
Yeah, so it's just a matter of time and money, right? And maybe a little bit of also focus. For example, a SaaS company that might be their business about healthcare, or maybe they are HR management system, necessarily they are not focusing on solving analytical and data problems. And that means that if they try to build their own analytic product in-house, they are running two businesses at the same time. And that is more like a rabbit hole. It's a slippery slope. And then you go there and you start small. And then the next customer comes to you and adds something to it. And then somebody else says, hey, can we also support this part? Can we export to this? Can we also add to the data pipe this kind of this? Can I build my data lake? And before you know, it's not a simple application, a side project anymore.
Yeah.
This is really a lot of engineers working on that, and you are still behind. And at the end of the day, you are building something for yourself is not really the gold standard in the market.
It's a classic build versus buy case that a lot of product managers face, and you provide this kind of out of the box solution that they do not have to build, they can buy, but it's powerful enough where they can still customize it in ways that gives them some flexibility.
Exactly. And you can shorten the time to market as well. So when you go and just buy something, having said
Yeah.
that, I'm not recommending that everyone should really go there and just embed. Of course, it needs to meet your requirements. But after you look at your requirements and it does actually satisfy your requirements, if you find anything like that and it comply with your standards and it has the right licensing pricing for you, there are many things that you should look into it. But if you really go through that kind of long list and evaluate and then find that this is really good kind of embedded solution for me, then definitely that will save you time and money.
So one thing you mentioned is that you are 100% OEM, which means original equipment manufacturer, like in the traditional manufacturing term. So you are providing or producing a specific component that is integrated into other companies' products. So in a way, you are selling something for a B2B SaaS product that now is being sold to a customer. So I'm curious about that sales motion.
Yeah, so it is actually, as you mentioned, it is very white labeled. Uh, when we are selling our technology to our OEM partners, they use it within their own products in a very white labeled style, meaning that it doesn't say Qrvey, it says, product ABC. They can change it to match the style of their product, not just from look and feel and color schema and font, but also they can even change the behavior. Do you want to have a single click here? Do you want to click on the right side? Do you want to, when you click, it should update one panel, it should change everything in your application. There are a lot of details that you can really go there and just match it to the way your application works. And then it's a longer term commitment versus a sales that is not OEM, right? So when you really OEM something and add it to your product, it really goes beyond just I bought something and I will work with it for 6 months and then I will may decide to change my CRM or change something to some other tools. No, you are actually embedding it within your application, your product, and then you are partnering with someone that helps you to build a better product and sell it better and market it better. So you look at it a little bit more strategically in that case, and you expect also the OEM partner to have the expertise and experience to get you where you want and make you successful.
'Cause It Yeah, there are pros and cons. I mean, it sounds like a very technical partnership, right? Because you have to spend a ton of time up front to really be considered as the winning solution, and then probably spend a ton of time integrating your component into their product. I think the pro side of this is if it works and you go through that first phase, you are extremely sticky. It's going to be very hard to then remove that component.
Yeah, so and because of that, it normally requires multiple steps to get there, right? So you need to really go there and first, as I said, have a very good framework to how to even evaluate. And we have some templates we share with customers, prospects, that they can modify that and add their own items. That might gives them some kind of idea that what I need to really look at. And then we have, of course, some sessions that we answer the technical questions, as you said, and different people come to this meeting. Sometimes, we have 25 people show up, in these meetings from different aspects of the business. The DevOps guy has the questions on the DevOps side and how to deploy it. Somebody on the product management wants to know version management and how to really uh, manage the product roadmap. If they embed this technology into the engineering, has their own questions, security, data privacy. There are many, many different aspects that all of them needs to be addressed. Now,
Yeah.
when you get out of those kind of sessions, still we offer the trial period that they really put it into their environment. It's not like our environment. They just put the software with full functionalities inside their environment. They load their data in a real life mode. They essentially try it. And then they go through some success criteria that we help them to define it. And then after that period is done, then you have done the trial. Now you can move forward toward MVP.
But one thing here, so you said trial, like, but it's not the classic free trial, 2 clicks and you're in, right? Like even to get to that trial stage, you still need to put in a lot of work to integrate your component into their product, right?
Yeah, normally the trial takes a few weeks, and normally some parties need to be involved depending on your success criteria. For example, if your success criteria include some, let's say, self-service capabilities and usability test, or your success criteria is about integrating with your own data, or your success criteria requires how many, can I load 2 billion rows of data and still get the performance? So depending on what your success criteria that are very important to you are, then you bring different people during those few weeks of trial. And then those people meet with our engineers and ask questions every single day, and we help them to
Yep.
finish that kind of trial, right? But
So
it's more in yes, you're right. It's not a click it, 20 minutes, you are done, and then you try it.
yeah, and one of the things I like about this conversation is that your product very how different than a more consumer facing type of product. Like your sales motion is different. Like the and then other elements of the value proposition that I want to go deeper on. So I think there is some insights there for other product managers as they realize that not everything has to be like a you know consumer facing product. I mean, your product is cloud native, so I think that is easy to. But I would like to learn more about what you mean by Kubernetes and how you see that as a differentiator.
Yeah, there are a number of differentiations in our case. One of them is the deployment model. So we are not hosting anything. As you can imagine, data is very sensitive to most companies. They don't want really to move their data to somebody else's account, right? And especially if you're a SaaS company and you're working with 50,000 or 5,000 or 500 or 50 customers, whatever it is, it's somebody else's data, and you don't want to really move them to some, accounts, some companies that if they have. So you want to keep the data in your environment. That makes your life easier. So we are a deployed solution. That's number one. And because of that, being deployed solution, we give more flexibility and power and freedom and control to SaaS companies. Um, the other aspect of it that is very important is the fact that we are fully embeddable, right? So they can really expect everything to have API and widget and being API first design. That's extremely important. The level of flexibility and customizability that we can offer.
So let me
Um,
let me ask you a clarifying question there because I think word API is important. So once you embed your component into their product, you're saying that's it. You don't need to be tweaking any APIs or anything. Like any additional change is done directly from a user interface.
Yeah, so the way we see it is that you have out of the box UI that you can use very quickly in a matter of hours. You can really get to work, embedded and done if you want. Having said that, then you need to sometimes modify, and more often you need to modify the UI, and that's available to you through the UI as well by turning on, turning off, customizing everything. But one more kind of level on top of that is, what if I want to change it programmatically? Because I wouldn't know really what kind of UI I need until my user actually log in. And when my user logs in, then I read the profile, and on the fly I need to create this report or form or data and everything. And that is where you need API, because then programmatically you can modify everything behind the scene. There is nobody sitting there in front of UI at that point to do it for you. You have to do it using API. And that's the importance of API, that allows the applications and products to really construct everything behind the scene through API.
Okay, got it. Moving on to another component of the value proposition, you said it's a self-serve built for SaaS companies. That is very, very specific. So how are you thinking about just that particular type of customer, and why you're sticking to that?
We believe that there are different type of users when you think about a SaaS company. One type of users are power users, the kind of users who can code, the developers, and they are needed for the first time when they embed something, integrate something into the product. And then you have to go to the next level, that is the power users. And they are not coders, but they are very savvy about the data. They know how to work with spreadsheet. They also need to be empowered by providing a no-code environment to them that is embeddable. And these type of users should be able to go there and just build, construct the workflow, manage the data if needed, build the dashboards visualization. And then there are there are end users. That end users are not necessarily the data kind of experts. They are not coders. They are everyday users. They are business users. They come to the application and they expect some interactivity, but also sometimes they want to change things for their own. Maybe I don't like this view. Maybe I wanted to put these two charts together and compare quarter over quarter. Maybe I wanted to really select a different way of visualization, or I wanted to define my own alert. Those kind of things, still, they need that level of self-service as well. So as you can see, you need to really cater to end users by giving them self-service capabilities. You need to cater to power users by giving them no-code capabilities. You need to cater to developers and super users by giving them configurability and embeddability. And overall, you need to be multi-tenant, meaning that all of the things that one tenant wants might be different from the second tenant. And if you really lock them down into one setting for all of the tenants, you're not going to have all of them happy. You may make some of them happy, but if you want to really make everyone happy, you have to have a very good multi-tenant on top of everything as well.
So I'm going to connect this point to your previous comment around strategy, board games, and just in general strategy, because all the things we're discussing here have a strategic, well thought out decision behind that, right? Like you mentioned, hey, our go to market, we are an OEM. That means we're selling to companies that then sell to end customers. That that's a decision. You're saying, hey, my value proposition, we are 100% embeddable, or we are providing, or now we have this type of users, like the technical user, the power user, the business user. Like as you kind of make those different strategic decisions to build your product, to define your segment, like what is your framework? Like how do you go about kind of creating that type of clarity first for yourself and then for the rest of the team?
Yeah, you mentioned a very good point. being harmonious, the harmony that you bring, it's very important from business model perspective to the pricing packaging you offer, to the deployment model that you have. Who is the buyer? There are a lot of kind of aspect, the functionality, the architecture. And if there is no good harmony between these, it's not going to really do well. It's like you are entering into the house, and the house is, let's say, a particular type of house with a particular price range, with some a space. If there is no match, if the house is built in a very, very fancy area, but then they designed it in a very doesn't have enough room, or they designed the house in a very big house, but then it doesn't have the equipments that it should have to manage that biggest space. It doesn't make it cooling, heating work for that. Either way, that house is not livable. So it's the same with software industry and software business and software applications and products. There are a lot of factors that all of them need to have that harmony in order to work. And at Qrvey, we believe that by focusing on embedded analytics and providing self-service analytics to SaaS, just hyper focused on that, nothing else, we can increase our chance to create that harmony. And the more focused we are, the higher chance we have to create the perfect harmony that people come from outside and say, that's exactly what functionalities I need. This is the right licensing pricing model for me. This is designed for me, and they understand my needs. And honestly, most of the credit do not go to our experience or expertise. It goes to our focus. If I had to pick one element that is most helpful, focus, focus, focus. I think that's very important.
So let's move on to the next platform shift. Like obviously we need to talk about AI, and I'm very curious to know how you've been using that new platform to improve the way you build your current product. And if there are specific use cases that you can highlight.
Yeah, so the use cases can be a number of use cases. For example, some of our customers uh, go with Qrvey because of uh, providing that self-service or better self-service that they didn't have before with their limited solution they had in place, either in-house or with another product that was not rich enough from that aspect. Some others go with data as a service in a multi-tenant environment, meaning that they want to really provide an environment to their SaaS clients that when they come in, they can get the data they need, and that data is catered to them based on many different rules they have, and they can change the rules on the fly and manage it. That's the perfect use case as well for us. Uh, uh, there might be also the kind of establishing the right set of capabilities for the right set of users. As I mentioned, in some organizations, you may have a variety of type of users, like they might be, for example, end users, there might be different style of power users, and you can really cater to all of them in a rich environment like Qrvey that everybody can get what they want, and you have all the variety covered.
So I want to talk about the first two that you mentioned. So self-service. Um, I, I want to learn more about what you mean by that. Something that came to mind. I had the CPO from GoDaddy join the podcast a few months ago, and they just did a huge push to go self-service and allow basically any entrepreneur to suddenly create their website, their domain, their social media post, and even incorporate their company. So I'm curious to know like what you mean by self-service in the context of embedded analytics.
Sure. Let's go with a very simple example. Let's say I'm a SaaS company, I'm a CRM application. I wanted to provide some data to my users, right? Now, if I'm a CRM application, my users might be salespeople, marketing people coming, management wants to know something, and each of them, and then I might have different variety of customers. Let's say I'm catering to associations, non-for-profit associations, and I'm catering my charts to association of dentists. Another customer of mine is association of teachers. Well, each of them really need a different set of metrics. And I cannot just define the same metrics. Even they have their own user-defined columns and fields. They should be able to go there and say, these are 10 columns, data columns I would like to track for my members. And I'm the association of teachers, so I care about these attributes versus I'm association of dentists, I care about the other attributes. And each of them will define different set of metrics, different set of workflow, different set of dashboards. And if you are able to give each of them the ability to do what they want and create their own, while you can upgrade still your software and you can push your new version and not mess up what they have
Got
already
it.
done, that's self-service.
Got it. So the integration is done, but now depending on the user, they are able to create the dashboards or the data the way it's more convenient to them. Uh, Now, the next use case you mentioned, data. Like I wasn't clear. Are you talking about the data, um, like helping your clients to gather more data, or is it more about like your end user to be able to better interpret the data that they are looking at?
So it all depends on the SaaS companies. Some SaaS companies will allow end users to, for example, bring their own data and mix it. For example, if you want to bring your own spreadsheet and upload your spreadsheet and mix it with the data, because in your domain, that's the way it works, and people should be able to upload their data, you can. But if you wanted to not to let not letting really end users do that. And it's just for you as a SaaS company to really bring different data and integrate it. You can do that as well. So our job as a platform provider is to give you those kind of abilities for configuration. In a way, we enable you and empower you to build your sandbox and define your sandbox for your customer in any way you want. And your sandbox can be bigger or smaller. You can really give them more abilities. For example, you may let them change the column names of the data, or you may say, no, no, that they should not touch the data because my architecture, that data will be used for all of the tenants. And if they change that, every single tenant will see it. Or you may say, no, the way I designed it, I let them define the columns for their own, but the other columns are not changeable. There are so many different cases, and that's one of the things that actually makes what we do very valuable and very interesting, because you cannot find two SaaS companies that exactly everything they do the same way. Or you cannot find tenants that they need all the same thing exactly the same. So much flexibility and so much variety. It just makes it a huge technical challenge and a big business opportunity.
And so the use case that I'm seeing here is making it easy for the user to upload the data in formats that they have. It could be a spreadsheet, could be something else, but then you kind of do the work on the backend to clean that data and make it consistent with the architecture that you have for other sources, right? And that's where the power, I think, of AI is in this case.
Yeah, so there are pre-built transformations that you can utilize. You can even give those transformations to your users to add to the data pipeline, or you may just do it in a way that, for example, when they put the data in that format, then you can review and approve the data. So all of that is depends on how do you want to orchestrate that kind of data flow, right? And that data pipeline, we are here with some functionalities that we provide you out of the box, but we are not going to tell you to use which transformation or should you approve the data before getting it to the data, or how often do you need to really refresh your data. All of those decisions are being made by SaaS companies based on their application logic, but they expect us when they say, I want to sync my data, we take care of it. Doesn't matter if it has taken us 5 years to build that logic, but that should be easy for them to utilize.
So that leads me to my next question, which is around AI agents, right? Like as you start making this easier for customers and end users to upload data, clean data, interpret data, like what is it that you are seeing that now it's possible with agents that wasn't possible before?
Yeah, so essentially, there's a big distinction between what we named AI 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and what we name AI today. That is mostly Gen AI for most people. Um, the way AI used to be 5 years ago, and we used a lot of those technologies like for example, predictive analytics, like for example, image recognition, like extracting text from PDF or from voice, all of those AI functionalities. Uh, it was really software. It was like I'm looking at AI as a more advanced software. Now, when you are talking about Gen AI, it's really more about I am really employing a functionality that used to be done by a human, and now I want a user to do that. So when you say, AI agent, actually that person or AI entity, AI agent is acting like a person, right? So you can really add that AI agent and say, run this dashboard, look at it every Monday morning, check these charts. If they are 10% up, do this. And that agent actually is like you have hired a person to go there and check the CRM and doing those kind of action. So the software that we are creating is enabling that person and empowering that person or AI agent to do that function. And you can really go there and just add that AI agent. Now, when it comes to more detailed actions like data that you mentioned, putting those kind of very detailed data integrations, less chance today for AI agent to be able to do that with no error. But if you are talking about 10 years from now, who knows? Maybe those also can be done still with AI agent, not feasible for the next year, but maybe feasible in 10 years for the very highly sophisticated data integration. But for easier stuff, it's doable. I mean, we can really set up AI agent that looks at dashboard and notify you when this happens or check the charts for you and do things. That's today. That's not 1 year or 10 years from
Got it. And so, what do you think is? I mean, you are being at the forefront of this, right? With the platform shifts, we've been employing AI for a long time. Now we're talking about agents in a more mainstream way, but it sounds like you are seeing this more as a technology upgrade of something that we were already using in one way, shape, or form. That obviously now it's reducing the margin for error because it's just much more powerful. But like, as you think about kind of next frontier, especially within embedded analytics, like what are the kind of the super capabilities that you can see your customers able to use without having to be super technical?
Yeah, I think the impact of really Gen AI on analytics and embedded analytics is to democratize the self-service aspect. Getting the information will become easier. For example, right now, not only you can go and construct your chart, you can also ask Gen AI what kind of chart I should create to address this question, and it provides you some suggestions. Even further, you can click on it and say, go ahead and build the chart for me. It will do it. We have it. So you click on it, it builds the chart. Not only builds the chart, you can go back to the composer and modify the chart. Now fine tune it. So it's a cooperation. Even you can ask the Gen AI today in our environment, we name it a smart analyzer. You can say, what are the questions I should ask about this data? It suggests some questions that you should ask considering this data, looks at your data, comes back and say, I would ask these 5, 6 questions, and some of those might be interesting to you. You may look at one of the questions that says, what are the outliers? You click on it, it goes there, come back. So as you see, in combination to everything you had before, and I on purpose say in addition, because I personally don't think it's a replacement. I think it's an addition. And it's in addition to what you had before, now you have a new tool. And that's Gen AI, and that's democratizing what you can do. And then you just utilize that to, get a better self-service capability. You do that in order to expand what you could do before, even some automations that you can put in place. So from my perspective, in what we do, I see this as a very nice extension, nice productivity tool that allows you to do more with more people, and also doing it more with less time.
Well, Arman, it's been a pleasure to geek out on embedded analytics and how you think about company strategy. Why are you making the decisions that you are making in different aspects? And also your takes on how AI is now being more helpful for people that are using your kind of product. So thank you again for your time.
Carlos, it was my pleasure as always. So nice to speak with you. Thank you very much for the opportunity.